All right. Hello, everybody. Happy weekend, or if it already is Monday when you're watching this, I hope you're having a great week. Thank you for taking some time to basically chart out the possibilities. And that really is what this is about. We're looking at what's coming through, how you can maximize it. And a big part of today's reading, especially at the beginning, is going to be about the importance of right here and right now, because there's always this emphasis on what's coming, and this is what creates that. So without any delay, we're going to get into the channel message here in just a moment. First of all, I just want to welcome everybody and introduce myself in case you're brand new. My name is Nicholas Ashbaugh. This is a collective reading. Everything that you see here is for the collective, with the exception of the elemental forecast, which will follow the 7-day forecast. So we're going to get into all of that in just a minute, but we always begin with channeled messages. And again, this comes primarily from dreams, meditation, and the research that I do based on those. So let's roll up our sleeves, get started, grab some coffee if you have it, and let's talk, everybody. Again, good to see you. Let's get into the presentation. And so, as I was just alluding to, one of the things that I was really called to talk about at the beginning of this reading was the importance of now. All of the different channels on divination, whether it's tarot or mediumship or developing your intuition, the reason that we're seeing things that can, may, or will be happening is so that we can prepare. And in many cases, we can do course corrections if we're not pleased with that. So it's all about empowerment. And I want to kind of like reemphasize that. Maximizing the moment is going to be another piece of this. And then also self-sufficiency. Let's get started with this moment. Like, this is the most important moment of your life, right here, right now. And that's the case for every moment that you're living, breathing, and present on this planet. The actions that you take based on the thoughts that you're feeling right now are going to reshape or shape or affect everything that we're about to see here. So this is to inform, to confirm, and to help you clarify stuff. Never feel disheartened or worried or stressed by something that you see in any of my readings or anybody else's, because it's a glimpse of what may be. One of the reasons that, if we just take the religious elements out of it, that I love the Christmas story, A Christmas Carol basically, is because it's a story of redemption and choice. The protagonist is shown an outcome that he doesn't like, and he decides to change it. And he's enlightened by 3 spirits. So any medium would like that. So we can just look at it as a story for redemption. We get to do that every day of our lives. We don't need 3 spirits to visit us at different points of the morning. We can just sort of like take a glimpse and think, do I like where I'm headed? So one thing that I'd like to kind of remind you of, the reason that I chose the world here, is because everything is moving and spinning in this universe. The Earth itself spinning on the axis. The moon is spinning around the Earth. The 2 of them are spinning in an orbit around the sun. The sun itself is spinning as well. The solar system is in an arm of the Milky Way, which is spinning around a black hole at the center. The galaxy itself is part of a local group of galaxies, which themselves are also interacting with other groups of galaxies, which ultimately are expanding to the outer reaches of this ever-expanding universe. It's all moving, folks. We have the illusion of stillness. Sometimes we have the illusion that we don't have a choice or a say in what's happening. But change and movement and growth, it's what we came here for, and it's what the entire world is doing in every single moment. It's just subtle. So we're going to pull back the veneer. We're going to embrace the constant change that is a part of this existence on this planet, and we're going to make some choices and some decisions. So, as I was meditating, the image that came forth was a daisy, specifically a daisy, but I did some research this morning on the daisy and also found that the sunflower has the same sort of energy, which is, it's very compact. There's actually multiple flowers that make up both sunflowers and daisies. There's little tiny florets. And then even the sort of petals around the outside, that's another type of flower. So it's like a compound flower. But there's a spiral design to the florets in both a daisy and a sunflower. It's the Fibonacci sequence. So the number of florets that are able to be basically compacted in that space, they're able to kind of put so many there because they're following this sequence, which appears time and again through the universe, even like the spiral arms of the Milky Way, very much like what you would see in the sunflower, which is in the Queen of Wands card, which is about maximizing and managing the moment. So far in the reading today, we understand that this moment is powerful. We can make really big sort of decisions and changes that are going to affect our outcome. We realize that management and maximizing and organizing is going to be a key to that. So let's go into the next piece here, which is you are being encouraged to be the light. In my dreams, I was shown 4 light bulbs, which felt to me like the elements, because each had a different color and a different function. I tried to wake up and write it all down. I'm like, it's just the magician's table. But the light bulbs are basically light bulb moments, foundational elements in your life. And the card that has a lantern in it is the Hermit, which is about introspective work, which is absolutely what we should be doing here in this retrograde period. So it's a time to release all codependencies, find the light within, and to decide what it is that you want to really put your energy behind. All right. And I believe these are the main messages for today. They're big ones at that. But if we go back to the summary slide, right here, right now, this is what matters. I've had many intuitions in my life where I'm like, I don't like what I see as an intuitive. And then I think, let's make some changes then. And then sometimes, because I'm an intuitive, I will feel the effects of what the future state could be, and I forget that I can keep changing it right now. So I wanted to relay that message. We're all co-creating. We're not sort of stuck in a sequence. So later today, we're going to be looking at angelic guidances and messages. So thank you for choosing that. That's very open, and it's going to basically be blessings. I always like working with angelic energy because it's here for the higher good. It's not going to be something that's going to stress us out. And so I feel like this is a perfect way to empower and be empowered. So we're going to take a look at the 7-day forecast next, taking us from this Sunday to next Sunday. And then we'll get into an elemental breakdown before we do the special topic. Let me just see what deck I want to use for this particular portion, and then we'll get into it. All right. Let's get started, folks. How's everybody doing today? Hopefully you are inspired and fired up and ready to explore. Okay, let's begin with the energy of today. Let me just move back one so we can go to this Sunday. Before I do that, let's just take a quick scan of the week. What I'm noticing here is the trickiest day actually is almost a week from now. We have a couple of days of dealing with some mental energy and also dealing with some people around you, but it looks like it's the midweek is where things start to kick off. So let's try to set you up for success. Today is a pretty good day, by the way, so we'll start with today. I'm not that worried about what I see. There was no Devil Tower or 10 of Swords. The other things that are there we can deal with. So the energy for today is the 2 of Cups. 2 of Cups in reverse. It's hard sometimes to ask for help, to lean on someone. I like this card because you could almost infer a couple of things. It could be love. It could also be friendship. It could be asking for support. And there's been this illusion, at least in the previous century, that we had to be strong. We had to put on a certain front, and that at certain ages you weren't allowed to cry or be sensitive or whatever. I really like how we see that that's not the case here. We also see the antithesis of toxic masculinity here. We see sensitivity and the ability to just sort of open up. So I like everything about this card. Today is a great day to spend time with the people that you love. It's a great time to let yourself be authentic, be yourself. And if you need help, lean on others. The card is reversed, so you could have a lot of people trying to spend time with you or tap into your energy. One thing that's going to be important is to have proper boundaries. It's okay also to say today is I need this time for myself, or I could really use your support or your insight. Flip the tables if you need to. You've earned that, and it's going to help you out in the week ahead. All right, we're going to move next to Monday. Let's look at the energy here. It's going to be about stress management by and large. The 9 of Swords is typically not as difficult as it seems, but that doesn't make going through it any less intense. So we can see the swords focus mostly on, the head space. And it's basically, we can get in our own thoughts and sometimes create this rabbit hole that doesn't exist. So before you worry about worst case scenario, I had to do this recently myself where I had an intuition. I'm like, but I don't know that yet. This could just be a preparation. So let me look at all the things before we go to that sort of situation. So one thing that I always like to do is research. I'm a big fan of that, actually. Like, that's what I do before I get started here. This morning I got up at 6, I feed the dog, I get ready, get some breakfast, then I sit down and I get ready. I research, I plan, I think, what is it about today? What are we talking about today? Research helps you feel comfortable. It helps set a foundation so that you know where you stand. And if you're unsure about something, it can start today. We can start it today. Even if you're watching this on Monday, you can still lean on someone for support or insight and say, what do you think? Is it just me, or what is this about? How have you dealt with this before? How did you deal with it? How did it work out? Get some answers. That's typically how I deal with 9 of Swords moments. 9 of Swords, 2 of Pentacles, a 7 of Cups. Anytime that you, we didn't get we have it here. Anytime that you're wondering, like, where should I go? What should I do? Research is your best friend, and then you just lean on your intuition after that, okay? So Monday is a day for self-care, for talking to others, for researching, and reminding yourself that it doesn't have to always end in the worst case scenario. Good to prepare for that, but don't fixate on it, because we are in a powerful period where we could manifest that. And one of the cycles you might be wanting to break this retrograde cycle is freaking out on things. So let's not do that, all right? Let's move on to the next card. This is going to represent Tuesday. So the energy of Tuesday is the King of Cups in reverse. I love that you're getting a lot of love and sensitivity and creativity cards this week. So far, all of the Cups cards have been reversed, which is basically encouraging you to take care of yourself. Some of you just may be natural nurturers. Try to say that 5 times fast. Basically, you're caretakers, or you've got this paternal or maternal energy where you just give to others. And this is saying, okay, but how are you? Maybe getting some time away, getting some space away from things will be key. I love the little fish that are jumping up and down around him. It's really about finding your peace, finding your zen. Even if you are in a sea of, stress or some other things, you can always find a couple moments to collect your thoughts. And I think that's going to be the most important thing. Tuesday is a great day to have an important meeting with someone. Your creativity, your enthusiasm, and your passion shine through. It's a great day for creative ventures. It's a great day to have some fun. The one thing you want to make sure that you're not doing is making a decision on impulse or on emotion. If you're just feeling overwhelmed, whether it's enthusiastic or depressed, you want to kind of come a little bit closer to the center. However you can do that is going to be my advice for that day. All right, so that's Tuesday. You finally are finding a nice zen as we get to the midweek. Wednesday is the 3 of Pentacles, a really unique illustration for the 3 of Pentacles. We can see the construction and the teamwork. Actually, there's an emphasis on the teamwork when we look at the bottom here. And people may be putting you on a pedestal. This is kind of a really, it's singular. I haven't seen this particular illustration before. So what I would say with this is focus on knowing that you're doing great, but you don't have to be perfect. So this can be you setting yourself on a pedestal thinking like, I can't make a mistake. It can be others that are judging you too harshly, when in reality, they probably couldn't do better themselves. So take a deep breath, take everything with a grain of salt, focus on the product, the work product. And someone gave me a hard time saying you're not thinking of all sort of like retirement. It can be anything, whatever it is you're trying to do for the world. Just don't put yourself in this place where you're afraid of making a mistake, okay? So whether you're a student, whether you're retired, whether you're working, it's more about this feeling of perfection, and perfection being the goal, when the 3 of Pentacles is about mastery, not perfection. And mastery means trying things, learning things, changing things. It's a more pliable card than what this is representing, which is in stone, okay? Things aren't set in stone. That's one of the messages with this whole reading today. Everything's moving, everything can shift, so allow yourself the flexibility. And learning is about that. It's about thinking one thing and then learning something else and then expanding your viewpoint. We're constantly taking that worldview and making it a little bit bigger. Okay, so that was Wednesday. Wednesdays, by the way, just such a fantastic day for things like signing on the dotted line, sending something to another person for review, having an important conversation or presentation. You're basically sitting in a really solid space. Three of Pentacles is recognition too, positive recognition typically. All right, let's move on to Thursday. This is an interesting day where it may be a little bit more challenging to work in a team. It might be a little bit difficult to find your motivation. And so collaboration is the encouragement, but competition may be the reality when we're looking at Thursday. So you want to rise above the competition. The one thing that's kind of missing from this, and it would probably ease the tension, is play. Because they're very close to being playful, but they are kind of competing for resources and attention as we look at all of these dogs. So I hope it's changing. I hope that the pandemic changed the way that we view work and offices and schedules. But pre-pandemic and a long time ago, I quit the corporate culture like 2015. But I remember competition being a big part, being in a structure, having these meetings for no reason, and sometimes just doing things because you were told. So this is about breaking out of that. If there's a little bit more room for play, that's key. In your life in general, again, whether student or retired, this is about kind of like breaking up the monotony. The monotony isn't working. There's work that needs to get done, but there's a little bit of playfulness and teamwork building that needs to happen, and not in the annoying way that, like, if you are working in a job that they try to make you do in a corporate culture. One of the things, it was a complaint. So this can be for like a vacation, camp, or work. But like, if you just want people to work on team building, don't give them a test afterwards. And that was one thing that used to happen. We would be evaluated on our team activity. It's like, just let us have fun and connect. There shouldn't be an evaluation based on how well we're getting along. So if you want to have an offsite meeting, just have it be offsite and enjoy. If you want to have some quality time with your kids or with your sibling, just have the quality time. Don't try to do something else and then evaluate the progress of it. That actually in and of itself, like just working on the relationship, that's the work. So a little tidbit there. Okay, let's take a look now at Friday. It's a pretty good day. In fact, it's one of the high points here. So we see recognition and work product being done here. And then we see something coming to fruition here at the end of the week. So on Friday, 10 of Wands, and 10 of Wands in reverse is saying you're very close to the finish line. Usually 10 of Wands is slightly burdened, and we can see that here. This person is basically focused, almost like having the horse blinders on, looking at what's in front of them. And so this is saying, take a moment like the bird at the top to get a view of where you've been. The bird is looking at the past. That's what retrograde is about. And before you cross the finish line, make sure that this time you're doing everything the way that you want to. You can delegate. I did get this in dreams, by the way. I just feel like sometimes I say the same message, but it came through. So I'm going to repeat it since I got the 10 of Wands. One of the messages that I received was doing less, delegating a little bit. Let me see how it came through specifically. Yeah, I just basically said, I put the word down, delegate so that you could create movement. Sometimes we don't have the energy or the ability to do that if we have too much on our plate. So the 10 of Wands can represent a schedule that's busy, whether it's a social schedule, a school schedule, like too many credit hours, or a work schedule where you're just working so much that there's no room for innovation, there's no room for restoration of energy, etc. You know what I'm talking about. So make sure that you're not burdening yourself unnecessarily. On the bright side, though, things are going to get done. You're going to be really happy when 6 o'clock comes around or when the end of day comes around. Take a break. You earned it. It's a good day. It's one of the power days for the week. Looking ahead 6 days at next Saturday, this is a day where accountability is going to come into play. So 7 of Swords, always an interesting card. Let's see how this author or this illustrator created it. So this is definitely someone that is trying to get away with something the way this illustration is presented. What they don't realize is that you're going to see through the facade, or that you're going to recognize it. And I think you'll probably see it coming a long way. So there won't be a surprise if someone just kind of falls short of expectations, or if they just don't show up, full stop. Know this, it's a blessing when and if this happens. it will allow you to redirect energy and focus on something that's worthier of you, of your time, of your energy. And it's okay. However, with the Seven of Swords, it's important to call it out and say, this wasn't acceptable, or I see this. Let them know, hold them to account. You don't have to have a lecture, just say, that disappointed me, or I saw that, or I was really counting on you. You can give them space. I always like to assume the best with Seven of Swords, because sometimes people overcommit. They're not trying to hurt you. You could just say, help me understand why this happened because it's out of character. Now, if it's in character, just say, this is the last time. Or this is it. This was the final straw. So if it's in character, it's time to cut this cycle. If it's out of character, check in and say, what's going on? What's really going on? Because something needs to be addressed, okay? Address it, and then you can move on, because this card can also be about cutting your losses. And the Seven of Swords character at the front can just be like, I've had enough with that. I'm going to move on and take what I can and call it a day. What can you do on Saturday? I would say focus on clear communication, focus on your own things. Also really engage with people that you can trust and rely on. Avoid the Seven of Swords in general. Okay, moving on to the weekend. Clarity, brainstorming, exploration, lots of fun things with the Seven of Cups. Not necessarily a decisive card. But a week from today, what we're seeing here is someone looking at all of the options, and she's a little overwhelmed, but that is part of the fun of what ifing, right? I remember, speaking of these moments, I was trying to think today, what was one of the moments where I thought I could do something and I changed it? So, fun fact, in my undergraduate and also graduate degrees, I decided usually a year or two before, I'm like, I think I want to get out of this program earlier. So in my undergraduate, it wasn't all that I thought it would be, but I decided to finish what I started. And I thought, how can I make this better? I could just work really hard this summer. And then one of my friends had gone overseas to study. And I thought, if I take an extra few credit hours and just cram in everything this year and get my advisor's approval, I could graduate a semester early. Like, I only need 3 classes or 4 classes. Why not just double up? And I did, and I went overseas to the UK and took an internship overseas, and it was fun. So I had a light bulb moment. I had it a year in advance, obviously. It was almost, maybe it was like 18 months in advance, because I needed to do it in the next session. And then I just signed up for more. It was a lot. I actually, one year I had like 23 or 25 credit hours. But I was so excited, and I did well. My GPA didn't suffer. I just wanted to get out and get my degree. And I did it again in grad school. I was like, I think I'm tired of paying all this money. I think I could just write my thesis and move on. And I did the same thing then. I just worked really hard in the summer. So I had to explore the possibilities, and that's what the Seven of Cups was. So I had to plan ahead. What do I need? So for some of you, this could be time, energy, money, or credit hours. How much time is this going to take? Will I be able to do that? And what can I do here? And then I'm going to have to apply to the next thing and get that lined up. And it was kind of fun. So if you just sit down and what if this happens? What if I do this? Cool things can happen. I did the same when I decided to quit my job. I'm like, what if I tried something else? Because I'm not feeling this. I saw a little TikTok the other day with Oprah, and she was talking about when she was a journalist, and I can't remember if this was in Baltimore, if she'd gone back to Chicago or whatever, but she didn't really want to keep doing that. She knew she wanted to do something else, but she knew she also needed to hone her skills a little bit, hone her skills. And she's like, so I stayed put for a little bit, finished it, and then I started following my intuition and moving in directions where I felt like this was the right move. So you're really never going to be poorly served if you're listening to what if, and then also why not? And that's really what this card is coming through. So this whole week, you can be entering into that Seven of Cups energy. Little thoughts can change your trajectory. I'm always dreaming. I'm always thinking of new things. And that's kind of how you keep life interesting, okay? If you don't like what you're seeing, think about how to change it. This is back to the point, and that's really what we'll one of the questions that I have for all the angelic guides today as well. Okay, So quick highlights and lowlights, and then let's move on to the elemental forecast because we have a lot to talk about today and I'm trying to keep the pace here, folks. So today is a great day for relationships, for leaning on others, for asking for help. One of the highlights this week is going to be the midweek Wednesday. So I would say Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday are the best days of the week so far because you have partnership and support, you have recognition, you have completion. Challenging days would be Monday and next Saturday. Monday because you're getting in your headspace, Sunday because people may not be showing up the way that you need them. The rest of the week is pretty awesome. And I would say a week from today, opportunities are starting to come through, new ideas, listen to them, follow through on them in very much the same way that we just talked about, because really exciting things can happen when you allow for that dreaming and that exploration. All right, as I kind of get these cards reset on the table, just a heads up, we're going to look at the elements, fire, earth, air, and water, since I was seeing that in my dreams as well. Let me see which cards are calling. Yeah, maybe this. No, I'll do it different. Okay. This is the only part of the forecast that's sign specific. Fire, earth, air, and water. Whoa, we've got the sunflower, part of the Fibonacci sequence, part of the maximizing that I talked about earlier. Let's begin with my fire signs, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. You are focusing on creating a new order or a new organization, possibly going against what others want you to do, breaking the mold, basically. Hierophant in reverse is saying, I know the rules and I know when to break the rules, or I know what's expected, but I also know what I need. And so listen to that and know that, at any given point, that's kind of how innovation happens. There were old rules, then they had to be reformed, and then there are new rules. So you're kind of in the new rules phase of your life. Innovation, rebellious to some degree. There could also be a little bit of resistance to creating form and organization in your life, but know that that will actually help you. You just don't have to do what mother, father, teacher, boss is telling you to do. You can do what you want to do, okay? So that's one part of this. This is also a card that really is about, as we see here, it can be spiritual development as well. So some of you are looking on different paths or widening or deepening your spiritual sense of being. But again, there could also be, one last thing here, some patriarchal or fatherly or sort of boss-like energy that you're trying to break through. This is a time for healing and reclaiming your own power. So that's my last message there. But overall, I'll take the Hierophant. That's a very strong card. That tells me that you can push through any sort of hierarchy or bureaucracy and you can get the job done as long as you're willing to evolve a little bit. All right, let's move on from my fire signs to Earth, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Going from indecision to decision, we have the Two of Swords in reverse, which is a favorable version of the card because it's basically saying, I can see what I can see, and I'm not going to worry about what I can't see. She's basically going to take one of those swords and go in a direction that feels right for her. So just some encouragement that you've done as much as you can, you've learned as much as you can, and in anything in life, there's always going to be a component of the unknown, right? So figure out what your comfort level is with ambiguity and go there. One other thing that you can do to empower the Two of Swords is, just like the Fool card that I pulled today, ask questions. If you don't know the answer, admit that. If someone asks you a tough question, this is a sign of a good leader, by the way, because there's a lot of leadership energy in this spread here, but a good boss, a good leader would say something like this. That's a great question. I think we need to research it before I give an answer. Can I have some time to make sure that I give you an informed decision? You can read through all of that and they say, I don't know, but I want to know. And that's another way you can say it. Say, I'm not sure yet, but I can get you the answer. If you want to just be straightforward, say, I can get you that answer if you give me like 10 minutes or 2 hours or whatever it is. So all of these ways, especially that one, it's saying, yeah, give me an hour. I'll get back to you. I can find that answer for you. Or I know someone who knows. Do you want me to put you in contact with that person? So you're the solution finder. You don't have to be an expert and a know-it-all. A weak leader pretends to know when they don't. A strong leader will help find the answer and help get the team together to find the answer. And again, I use leader, but this can be in a family, in a relationship, or in a job. So we'll just kind of think broadly when I talk about those terms. So you may not know, but you probably can figure it out. And that's your key to success, is leaning into that. All right, that's my message. By the way, earth signs, you can totally handle this because I know that you know your way around research and that you know how to communicate and you know how to get it done. So just trust yourself on that. Let's move on to air, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. You're sitting in a pretty good space. We have the Emperor in the upright position. You may be able to call the shots. You may be put on the spot, but flourish. You may have a chance also here to just take something on and explore something that you didn't know that you could do. You might be finding your power, but no matter how you look at it, an upright Emperor card is pretty positive. So if and when you have a chance to do something, embrace that, speak up, take on new things, and don't give away your power. You've earned this opportunity to step into it this week. People may be asking you for help, and so if you're feeling overwhelmed, just remember the importance of the Seven of Swords that we saw like next weekend. Try not to overcommit. That'd be my only advice, because people may be really kind of drawn to you this week, so be prepared for that. It's a good card. There's not a lot to say when it's that positive, except trust your ability. Okay? Let's move on to my water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. You have one of the flowers that I talked about today. I had the daisy, and then I talked also about the sunflower. All of the little florets now, because I can't really use Getty images or I'll get sued, but I can use the tarot cards. So these little florets that we see at the center, those are arranged in such a sequence that it can be tightly sort of like, basically pushed in there. And so what we're looking at here is how can you organize your schedule to maximize the impact? And that's what this is basically showing, is the ability to maximize the impact. So thank you, tarot card, for coming through, because I wanted to show a picture of the floret. And so now we get that. Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, what you can really be focusing on here is taking an idea and putting your passion behind it, because that's something that you can do pretty well. And I'm just double checking. I'm pretty sure that card was in reverse. But with the reversal of the card, what you want to do is to make sure that you're unafraid of sort of asking for something if you need it. So even if it's upright, you can ask for what it is that you need. So sometimes we wait for people to bring things to us. And this card is basically saying, I have this idea, but in order to make it happen, I need a little bit of support here, here, and here. What do you think? Or can you lend some support? So I think it's important to let people see why they should be invested in this and how they can make a difference. Yeah, I just watched the replay and it is reversed. So that's basically saying it's possible, but I need support. Can I count on you? This is also a way to avoid Seven of Swords moments. You could say, hey, we have an important thing coming along. I know you had casually agreed to do it. Are you still on board? Are you sure? Really get their commitment and remind them that you're counting on them. And if you need a backup, get a backup on things. This is also a great time to start something new, whether you're doing it with the help of others or on your own. Retrograde is, sometimes we're afraid to start new things, but one of the times that you can break that rule is if you've been intending on doing something for a long, long time and you've never taken the initial action. Now is the time to set that into rotation and to really start to see some exciting things happen. So there are exceptions to when you can start something new. If it's already underway and you're just starting a leg of something, or if you've been wanting to take a vacation, apply for a job, ask someone out, and it's been on your mind, you're actually not starting something new. You're executing on a long overdue plan, which is all about what retrograde is about. So there you go. The retrograde is underway right now, and it goes all the way through mid-May. I think it's the 14th or 15th. You can just Google it, but I believe it's mid-May. Then there's a pre-shadow and a post-shadow. So suffice it to say, most of next month, but it starts to get better around the 15th and thereafter. Okay? So there you go. Confirmations around the 15th. So then you can also add another 7 days on the 15th, And that's when you're completely clear. But anything after the 15th is going to benefit from being out of the full-on retrograde. Okay, let's go ahead now, and we're going to get ready for the special topic today. Today's special topic is angelic guidance and messages. One of the reasons I love working with angelic guidance is because, again, it tends to be pretty straightforward and fairly positive. Every time I've had an experience working with an angel, typically they're just to the point and they want to help you. So we're going to pull a traditional spread, and if I feel like asking any questions, I will. It depends on time and energy. So let's get started to that end. Just a quick note while you're here, while I'm getting everything set up, if you'd like to show some support, you can give me a follow on social media. While you're watching the video, however, give me a like, subscribe, and opt into notifications so you never miss out on a future video. All right, let's get going, guys. Let's take a look at messages from the angels, whatever they need to say, whatever you need to hear, however you need to hear it. Okay, we just got one that popped out. It's an Ace of Pentacles. So that's going to apply to everybody, what I was talking about there for the water signs, especially doubly so for the water signs, but it's here for everybody. If you ever want to see any of my decks, you can always look at my website, and I think it's in my main navigation, Tarot Decks. All right. That way, Dakota and I don't have to go searching for them all the time. Thanks to Dakota for his help today in moderation. Zoom out just a little bit. This is a gorgeous deck, but it is a little bit larger. Okay, let's see what's coming through. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm just going to turn up my AC and then we'll get started. All right, thank you. So again, the special topic today is messages from your angels, and we're going to begin with the catalyst, then we'll take a look at everything that's on the table here. So we have divine feminine energy here, equality, Lilith coming through. So one of the cyclical things that might be coming through your life is this feeling of, I can't remember if it was Libra that I talked about this month, but deserving a seat at the table. I think it was. So one of the things here is really knowing that you've earned the opportunity to sit with your peers, to have a voice, to speak up. And really that's what this card is all about. I love the angelic sort of wings behind Lilith. The important thing here also is to know that you have the ability right now to create, to push things or breathe life into new creations. So this is a very developmental period for you. It's your turn. There was a lot of power cards that we saw even when I was looking at the elements with the Hierophant and the Emperor. And so I think in this moment in time, maybe not looking so much to the experts, quote unquote experts, looking more within, trusting your own knowledge and your own skills. That's going to be important. Let's take a look now at what's going on here. Yeah, this was a good deck for Earth Day. I wanted to do something really colorful and really bright and open for angelic energy. So this one felt right. I'm looking overall at just what it looks like so that we can see where the challenges are. It's interesting that the Seven of Swords came through here as well, and the Ten of Swords. So there's a little bit of healing, which we'll talk about. But when I look at where your head is at, where the possibilities are, everything here on up is good. And this is really where the magic starts to happen, because this is environment, opportunity, and outcome. So these matter the most. This stuff I can usually help you deal with. So I'm feeling pretty good about what I see. So again, let's dig into the Celtic Cross now. We're going to begin here with your centermost card, the Ace of Pentacles. Rock on with this coming through twice. I love this. Clearly, I love flowers. I'm actually in the process of getting a couple of additional pots for the patio because I don't want to put too many out there, but I was like, I need a little more life out there. But one of the cool things with whenever you're growing something, it takes time, it takes care, it takes nurturing. So I think the importance here, and I talked about it in The Fool, which also came through, is that things don't happen overnight. So the Fool is about one step at a time. The Ace of Pentacles is about continuing to nurture and trust that there will be something, even when it's not there, even when it's just an idea in your head. So those wild thoughts where I thought, let me graduate a semester early and travel overseas. Let me, quit my corporate job and do something completely different. You need to have a wild thought. Then you need to put a lot of energy behind the wild thought. One thing that I like to remind folks too is of the size of the trajectory of what you're trying to do. So if you're open, if you just graduated, like deciding to try something different, there's not a lot of energy around you. You can kind of take whatever is in front of you. If you're in school and you've got 80% of it all done, but you're gonna have to push and get all of this done. Basically, it was like cranking the wheel a few times. I had to do a lot of cranking of the wheel to get it to happen. And then I had to put a lot of fuel in the tank and I had to push through the night. So it was a lot of course correcting and then a lot of fuel burning to get into that different trajectory because I'd already spent 3 years doing something. And I was trying to get out. 2.5, 3, whatever. And I was trying to get out a semester early. 3 years. And I needed to get out a semester early. So it was a lot, but it was doable. But it was a lot. So sometimes you have to just be patient and say it's a lot, but it's worth it. So the earlier you decide to do something, the less of this and the less sort of fuel that it will take. So start sooner is what I'm kind of getting at. Don't wait too long, but even if you wait a long time, you can still do it. It's worth it ultimately. But we are not dealing with Jack and the Beanstalk typically. There can be viral moments on the internet where something takes root, but usually it takes time and usually it's more sustainable if you work hard to get where you're at. So be willing to crank the wheel, be willing to put the energy and the resources into making it grow, and don't let yourself feel trapped. I love that there's angelic energy on these cards that we selected here. You are already starting to push through the glass ceiling. It's just about imagining a different outcome. That's what this Eight of Swords is about. It's not around you, it's not in front of you, and it may not be obvious, but it is possible. So anytime I've had to do something unusual, I'm at a point now where it's just me, but I was lucky when my family was alive that they never really questioned me. It was more like they knew I could do it. That was a really nice thing. Not everyone has that. They asked me why I wanted to do it, and then once they knew why, they were like, "Okay, this sounds exciting. Let's do it." So maybe you don't have that, but you have it here in this space. So if you feel you can do it, if you're excited about doing it, I believe in you. It's just about you figuring out, all right, how am I going to raise that ceiling and get through here and free myself from this situation? And it can take varying degrees of time to do that. But the angelic energy is right there. You deserve more sort of freedom, opportunity, and movement, possibly than you have in your current situation. All right? Let's take a look at deep past. So for some of you, it's so interesting. These are connected. The Nine of Pentacles is hard work, success, but it can sometimes be limiting growth. So examples of this, you work really hard to build a business and it's a successful business, but you have no free time. You work really hard to get a degree, to do all of these things. And again, it's success, but it may not be what you want. It may not give you the freedom to explore, to travel, to kind of just have the fun to be the person that you want to be. So we need to find an in-between space between this and this. And that's your opportunity. The cool thing with the Nine of Pentacles is what I'm seeing here is someone that's capable of independent thought, independent action. And once you put things into motion, typically the Nine of Pentacles portends success. The only thing to be mindful of, whether it's upright or reversed, and it did come through in the upright position, is not to be afraid to ask for help. So, and always to be patient with yourself and patient with others. Normally there's a snail. We see it. I love it. It's hidden in this one. There's my favorite little garden snail. And so basically the snail is actually looking down at her and saying, are you slowing down? Are you being present? The bird is coming through and saying, are you listening to your intuition? Are you listening to others? Because yes, it's nice to have all this stuff, but is it sustainable and is it fulfilling? Those are the kind of like existential questions that want to come through. Are you happy and is this enough? All right. A change is on the horizon. The Wheel of Fortune is both auspicious because basically it's saying you're getting one up from the, well, really a couple up here because this is in the major arcana, but we do have the 10 here. So we can almost see this as not just the next level, but next level. So let me give you a new way to think of something. Let's imagine that you've achieved a certain level of success. Let's imagine maybe even that you've retired or you've quit or the job went away. There could be this feeling of, can I do it again? Will it ever be as good? What you want to manifest in the world right now and in your mind right now is not the fear or the doubt of, can I ever, or was that as good as it was? Think instead, that was really cool and I'm super grateful for it. I'm ready now to experience and explore and receive something even beyond that. Show me, universe, the true limits or the true capacity, and sort of like opening yourself up. We can see also being a little bit more transparent. We see the machinery at work here. So also kind of letting people in, letting them know what makes you tick, what makes you excited, learning a little bit more about that part of yourself because it is more than just, the cash. There's something more that makes you tick. And this is really about learning about that. When you know what makes your heart tick, then everything else starts to move in the right direction. The Wheel of Fortune is a positive version of like the Death card. I mean, Death card in and of itself is positive, but it's less intense, let's put it that way. So Death, Tower, and World. Big movements. World and Wheel of Fortune very similar in that typically we could ascribe a positive motion to it. So this is saying you're on the, You're basically on the precipice of this really positive movement in your life. You need to focus on the heart. The heart is really the top gear here, and don't worry so much about the time. Time and success will follow, but the heart has to be tuned in to the moment. Okay. A little bit of risk, a little bit of movement. We have the Fool here following the Wheel of Fortune. It was the card for today. So you can also take a look at my one card reading for today and get some additional insights. I can talk a little bit more because I have more than a minute, which is nice. As I was saying today, actually, I didn't have a chance to mention the clearing energy. So zeroing. Do you remember? Well, you can still do this with hard drives. Once upon a time, if you were going to sell a hard drive, you would erase it, but then there's also this thing called zeroing. So to protect your data, the computer would go through and write a 0 in every single track to clear out everything. So there's a reason that there's a 0. Yes, sometimes it can be 22, but typically Rider-Waite-Smith, it's 0. So the 0 is significant because it's saying no expectations. And the Fool, if you look at my one card reading for today, carries a knapsack. In the traditional illustration, I can just pull the canister for the for this. By the way, this is a really great deck if you're looking for one, Radiant Rider-Waite Tarot. And I like it so much that I have multiple sizes, like the jumbo size and this little travel size. But the Fool here has a knapsack, and he or she is carrying the knapsack because you're letting go of baggage from the past. So there might be a little bit of a release that needs to happen because this card is in the reverse state. We also see someone that might be putting too much energy into, or be looking too much into the past, because we have heads and tails in this particular card. So I want you to focus a little bit on the past, but remembering, again, we don't want to live in the past or worry too much about the future. We want to be in the present, and that's what's missing in this Fool card, is presence and sort of like just being free. I love all the lush abundance in this card, all the greenery that we can see. So taking that first step can be really exciting, and we see growth and opportunity on the tails of that change. Let me take a drink, and then we're going to talk about how to deal with the Ten of Swords. By the way, thank you for everybody that is gifting memberships and become new members. I appreciate that. I'll say thank you at the end. I just happened to look at my monitor and see that. Okay, Ten of Swords. Let's give it a go here. Much like the Nine of Swords, we can see in this particular one, everyone's kind of like, she feels like everyone is pointing to her, or there's words that have been said, and they're kind of ricocheting in the headspace. So, unfortunately, words do have a way of sticking around because they're incantations, basically. There's a reason that we call cursing. Isn't it? That's a powerful statement. So just saying a 4-letter favorite. It's called cursing because it has a low frequency and it kind of cuts through and it makes an impact. You're not literally putting a curse on someone, but you're definitely not blessing them, and it's definitely not a blessing to keep using those words. So we all use them from time to time, but we want to be mindful of that. Elevate your language. And if other people are speaking cruelly, critically, but there's no constructive elements, then think about what must be going on in their lives. They must be acting out because of a lack of love, support, or because of an under the surface pain that they don't know how to deal with. So what they're doing is like a scorpion barbing people around them, just to try to get rid of that venom. It's not yours to heal. Don't take it on too much. We all have gone through it. We've all been victim of something, whether it's just a cruel comment, bullying, someone that's been inconsiderate, sarcastic remark. If you haven't, you're blessed. But most of us have had somebody say something that isn't super nice. So let it go. My advice here is let it go. I'm getting that vision of a scorpion reaching out, and it feels like it just wants to get rid of its venom where it can get rid of it. It's not yours to absorb. Okay? For yourself, practice good self-care. Ten of Swords comes through as a full stop. So it's better than the Tower sometimes. It can be less intense. So if you've been overworking, the Ten of Swords can be getting the cold or flu, or breaking a limb or something, so that you have a forced slowdown. I had that last year. Lots of change, lots of movement, and I had to just hang out for about 10 weeks while my foot got better. Without internet, without a permanent address. I'm like, this was the worst timing for this. But the universe was like, you're going to slow down whether you like it or not. So I had to slow down. Don't get to that point. Don't work so hard that happens. Take it from someone who learned the hard way. Tune into yourself. Ask for help. One of the things that I needed to do was just ask for help during a move, and it would have been better. So lean on others, support yourself. If you have any chronic pain, whether it's physical or emotional, it has to be dealt with now. Ten of Swords is saying, before you can move forward, heal yourself. It's the only block that I've seen so far. Nothing else constitutes a block. This one is more of a warning, and we'll talk about that now. So you're showing up in a really interesting way. The reverse of the Seven of Swords would be the reverse of a lack of accountability, which would be accountability. So that's a lot of double negatives, but you're showing up as being no nonsense and accountable. I like that. There may still be, though, a little bit of a threat of fear. So when entering into new relationships, you may worry that people are holding back, that you're just waiting for someone else to come along to disappoint. And I would challenge the select few of you that might be feeling that to let that go, because that's a manifesting thought. Instead, your mantra is, I am accountable, I am honest, I am strong, and I'll see through any illusions before they happen. I'm only calling in people in my life right now that have done the same work. And if they haven't, they have no business in my energy field. Be really firm with your boundaries for the Seven of Swords. That firm. If you're not doing the work, you have no business in my field. And you can just imagine that it's strong and that you're shining brightly, and they're going to scurry away like an insect at night. They're not going to be drawn to the light. Okay? So just be strong and be light and stay accountable. Be honest with yourself and keep your promises. If you say you're going to do something, do it. If you can't follow through on something, whether it's health or a contract, don't commit to something just yet. Get ready and really feel it and then say you're going to do it. Otherwise, if you can't keep a promise to yourself, how are you going to keep it to other people? So focus on personal accountability, and then the relationship accountability will just file in naturally. Okay? Yeah, by the way, Apollo, he's listening. It's like Sunday school here, but in the morning when I was doing my presentation, I thought maybe I would share it with you guys because I sent a picture to my friends. He knows we're going to do brunch later, but this was him waiting for his morning walk, and he's like, "Are you done yet? When are we going to walk?" He's the cutest. I chose to just leave him in the background because he's happy. He's chilling out. At the very end, I'll bring him up. Sometimes when I bring him up, he gets nervous, and I'm like, he's cool. Let's just let him be. All right, let's focus on what's going on around you. I love what's going on in the environment here. We have the Six of Cups. That would constitute the Six of Cups too. So Six of Cups is love, support. Also, by the way, I mean, this card was reversed, so there could be someone coming in from an unexpected opportunity here, but this is bigger than life. Like if we look at her, she's bigger than life. And so it kind of reminds me of what came through on Wednesday where there was that statue for the Three of Pentacles. There could be a bigger than life moment that's happening. You could meet someone that you're really looking up to or forward to meeting. So this could be an idol or a mentor or that special someone that you've been kind of trying to connect with. It could be a friend. By the way, soulmates are also dogs. This is one of the best friends I've had in any lifetime and one of the most reliable energies I've ever met. So a soulmate doesn't have to be in human form. But what you're calling in is a deeper friendship and perhaps a karmic relationship. Six of Cups, judgment, death, all represent past life energies and something from the past. You could also be reconnecting with an old friend or a sibling. Whatever it is, I like the energy of it. And there's a chance to maybe see it through an adult lens. So if you've ever had the opportunity to go back into a childhood home or school for that matter, have you ever been struck by how small it looks? Because in your head, you were smaller and everything seemed bigger. And then you look around and you're like, oh, even the street that I used to live on, it's smaller than I thought. So you're also realizing your own strength and your own sort of, back to Lilith, your own equality or your own size in a good way. Never underestimate your power. So we definitely get that divine feminine energy and that power and that equality that's coming through. Some of you also might be deciding to fight for equality, something that we still need in this day and age. We're not going to get into all of that, but there's still a need for equality across all lines. So if that's something you're interested in, this is just kind of like highlighting, yeah, you're on the right track. But we are seeing love and friendship and support in the periphery. Even if you feel like you're all alone right now, which can be the fool here on this path, wondering where am I going to find someone or some sort of support, it's there in the environment. Okay, opportunities. This is a very cool Emperor card. I don't know if I've seen this one before. I've seen just about every card in this deck, but it's still somewhat new for me. Okay, so this came up in the elemental forecast. So all of you have an opportunity to kind of step into your power right now. And I love how we see sort of this cathedral or structure on top of his head. So your possibilities are only as small as you imagine them, is what I'm getting from this. So if you can open up the spaces in your mind. I had dreams 2 nights ago about just different like houses and spaces, and they were under construction. So a little bit of this is probably relevant for today. But leave room for movement and construction and space, kind of like in your house. I always like to leave, this is a fun way to manifest, by the way. So I always like to leave room in my closet for another person, for more energy, for more abundance. I never want my whole house filled up. leave an empty drawer, leave an empty space somewhere, because you're then telling the universe, bring in a little bit more. So a fun little piece of manifestation, always have room for something else. And this is what I'm getting with this. Leave a little bit more room. And then in your management styles, this is just saying, don't be afraid to speak up. We've got a tulip there, which is really cool. Tulip and a peony. Spring and summer being a very sort of wonderful space. So much growth and so much lush energy in this deck right now. So I'm basically seeing you coming into your power and coming into your own. Okay? Let's take a look at what it's all about, the outcome here. Page of Wands. If you can see it, you can do it. If you can see it, other people can see it. And you may be asked to look at things from another perspective too. Wands, a little bit more cognitive, a little bit more imaginative, not so much about things that are in front of you. One of the reasons that I love the Queen of Wands is she can see beyond limits. So this page is even being asked to be in that same sort of energy. I love all the flight that's on here, from the toucan to the parrot to all the birds, very much in alignment with today's reading. So what's next for you? This is kind of like a prompt from the universe. It's saying, and all of your angelic guides, it's saying, how can we be of assistance? What is it that you need help with? So a little aside before we go into the expanded forecast and look at health, wealth, love, and destiny. A good way to work with your angels is just to remember this. There's always support from that angelic realm. Even if you cannot see, feel, or know what they're kind of doing, there's support there. But they tend not to intercede, and they're not going to get in your way unless you ask for some assistance. So be very specific and don't ask for everything. I really try to limit it. I don't ask that often, because I want to kind of know that when I really need something, they know that, and then they step in. So if there's something pivotal, I'll say, help me understand what's going on, or help me see this, or open up, help me create the synchronicity. I always want to put myself in the position of moving, and they're more kind of like a cheerleader or a coach, because they're not going to make it happen. You're going to make it happen, but they're going to help you see it, help you feel it. And so you can ask them for guidance, support, and clarity. That's something that's totally in their wheelhouse. And then that way, they're not getting in your way of learning and growing and manifesting. So ask them to be the best possible teacher, guide, or spotlight, and they'll happily do that. Archangel Uriel once came through and said, lead with gratitude. You can say thank you more. So I always say thanks to them before I work with them. And I usually will start by, I'm so sorry I haven't acknowledged your presence more. Thank you for all of the help, seen and unseen, and for all of the protection and the guidance that I didn't notice. And thank you for listening to me now. I have something that I need help with. I would really appreciate your guidance. Treat them like a really close friend that you care about. So gratitude, attitude, good, lots of gratitude, a good attitude, and then thank them again afterwards, because they're busy. So that's kind of my advice on angel communication. And I'm even kind of like guessing a question, how do you know if there's an angel or connection around you? It's very positive energy, warm, supportive, kind of like you're dealing with your pet. It's just going to be love, because love is the language of God in the universe. It's the highest language. So there's never going to be judgment. If there's judgment, you're not working with an angel. Okay? All right, let's focus now on the expanded forecast. We're going to now look at health, wealth, love, and destiny. Let me just get to this here. We're going to start off first with health, which is mind, body, and spirit. And let's see what's coming through for that. We have eruption of light. What a cool card and cool sort of way to look at this. So this is almost like a volcano, and a volcano comes through when there is a critical point where the pressure can't sort of exist anymore. So what this is saying, instead of having that 10 of Swords moment, which can be a different type of volcano, there can also be an empowered volcano moment where you're like, what if I make a change? What if I'm the agent of change? What if I don't lose my temper? What if I just take control and do this instead? So that's what this is really saying. Take your energy and use it in a different way. This is inverse. So basically for some of you, there could also be a lot of people that are taking from you and tapping out your energy. One of the things I picked up on, and I just wanted to figure out how it was going to come through today, I got the energy of draining. So I was shown an image of a vampire, but to me that basically is saying somewhere there's someone usurping energy. So I feel like for your health this month, having really healthy boundaries is going to be paramount, because that's going to allow for your internal battery to charge, and it's going to encourage them to find their own battery source. You don't have to be everyone's battery. You're your own battery. You can give them a jump, but that's it. It's up to them to figure out how to kind of like sort it all out in the long run. All right, let me take a drink here, and then I'm going to focus on all the other health messages here. Okay, we talked about stress management and self-care. Still the number one thing that we need to focus on when it comes to your personal well-being. Say no, get a massage, get chiropractic adjustment, talk to your doctor, whatever you need to do to make sure that mental, physical, and spiritual health are where they need to be. These two cards work in tandem. Step away from people that aren't accountable. It's not worth your time and energy. It's not worth the conversation, to be honest. I see some really good movement happening. Some of you are overdue to quit a job, to retire, to graduate, or to make a big shift in your life. Whatever station of life you might be in, the Wheel of Fortune and the Fool is change for the better. Change that's going to bring you, this new sense of balance. You might worry about worst case scenario. There might be people that are unhappy with that, but it's followed by friends, support, love, a new tribe of energy coming through, personal empowerment, and new ideas, new success, this new sort of fire that's coming through. So I like that. So I think it's just about not letting other people project fears and anxieties on you. Because that's what this is. It's a projection card. She's not feeling it until they tell her to feel it. And this is really the epitome of growing up, right? Loss of innocence. As children, we really don't have prejudice. We don't have self-confidence issues. We don't have judgment issues. We learn that from the environment. So this is about unlearning that and also pushing back and saying, actually, it's not your business. Thank you, but no thank you. I don't need to hear that. And protecting yourself when and if necessary. Some of you are in a restrictive living situation or work situation. Something about that seems limiting. And it's also just saying don't limit your thoughts or potential. Okay? Overall, I like what I see. And if you are deciding to move, it looks like it's a move for the better. Lots of lush green energy in these cards. So maybe making sure that that was one of the things that I looked for here. And you saw even my living room, like I'm surrounded by trees. It's private and it's nature. Like when I go outside, I see doves and hummingbirds and things like that. I wanted to have trees where I lived. So maybe some greenery would be good for you. Maybe something where you can also get out in nature a little bit more. That could also help you out. Okay, let's move on from the health card. Oh, one last thing. Do a little research. If there's something that you feel like maybe the doctor's missed something, you've missed something or whatever, this is also a card of research, especially with the Sherlock Holmes vibe that she's giving. Research could yield new results, or maybe you're going to get involved in some sort of a research thing. But anyway, let's move on to wealth. All aspects of your life. So again, if you're a student, it's what you're embarking on. If you're mid-career, it's a checkpoint. If you're retired, it's how you're spending your time and energy. I may not always say that, but you can always apply my messages in that manner. I just want to be inclusive because sometimes people may not kind of use it in that fashion. So in wealth, I'm using Ganesha here today. Ganesh can help us through any sort of blocks. And it's really, the question here is, do you feel like you belong? And it's a good question to come through. So this could be community for those of you that are retired. This can be school, and this can be work or social groups. Don't force the belonging. I was listening to something last night on National Public Radio. I think it was like the Moth Radio Hour or something, where someone was talking about this experience where she was going to some sort of science camp, but she was talking about being rejected and these mean girls, and she was almost going to go home, but they kind of like said, no, there's a school dance tonight, you have to go or whatever. She ended up just being herself, dancing a little bit crazy, and then met all these new friends and realized that there are mean people, but there are also kind people. And so you don't have to try to fit in with the mean people. And there is no better word. Sometimes there are people that are just cruel. They're out there. That's part of the world. There's balance. There's light and there's dark. There's kindness and there's cruelty. You don't have to try to find your way into the mean girls or mean boys club. just find people that are in the same vibe as you and move on, and don't take their sort of words to heart, because there's something. I was talking. Let's see. It was a TikTok I was listening to. I'm trying to remember which actress it was, but it was a round table, and she said, Tandy, the one, I can't think of her last name. She plays in Westworld, and she was also in the Chronicles of Riddick. But she said she likes to go for characters that are wounded, because she finds it interesting, or because she wants to understand where that came from. So what I would think of is, if people are trying to hurt me, where did that come from? They're actually like, you can't affect me. I'm more wondering what hurt you. And if you can go to that level, yes, Tandy Newton, thank you. If you can go to that level, then you can understand the motives and it won't hurt you. You'll actually have compassion for them. I was like, brilliant. That's a brilliant way of looking at it. Because she tries to also find the redeeming qualities in some of these characters, or help you understand them. So yes, I would take a little bit of that actor mentality, which is, you're trying to kind of like get in my headspace, but I'm actually trying to understand why you're trying to do that, because that tells me that first of all, you must be fascinated with me, or you must be really focused on me. There's something about me that's attracting your energy. I want to work on that, and I want to understand what's maybe broken in you, so that I'm not attracting that energy. You don't have to ask them all those questions, but you can think about it, and you're like, okay, there's a pattern here. I'm not going to focus on what they said. I'm going to focus on why they're in my energy and why this is affecting me. Them saying it was just, it's part of a play. We kind of come into this planet to bring in lessons. And so that was a lesson, but you are not all of those things, and you don't have to focus on it. So analyze it like a script, and I think that could help you a little bit. Okay. Yes. Thank you so much. I knew that there was I couldn't pronounce the name. So she's an amazing actress, though, by the way, and all of her characters seem to be like spot on. So I paused for a second. I'm like, I want to watch that whole interview. There was a round table with a bunch of like women that were trying to deal with challenges in acting because of representation, because of equality. And so she was talking a little bit about that. Okay, so I was on a little bit of a sideline, but if you don't belong, you'll find a place where you do. And actually, even that discussion that I was talking about, part of what they were really focusing on was getting the representation and making the most of every opportunity. And again, finding a seat at the table. All right, let's move on. We just talked about wealth, but let me see if there's anything else that I want to look at here with wealth before we move on. I do see an opportunity. You have to see the value within yourself. This is hard if you weren't supported as a kid. If mom and dad, teacher, and society didn't support you, you feel like this, but you're actually this. And you're actually on this really cool growth spurt, basically. And you can grow at any age when it comes to your capacity. So the limits of the past are not the limits of the present. And in the present, you can really make amazing strides for the future. It's changed so much in the past few decades in many areas. So allow yourself to try new things. I mean, even just the internet has been a great democratizing force. There's bad things with it, but there's good things too. So let's try to focus on the light end of the spectrum. Using language in an affirmative way, keeping yourself and others to account. Maybe just doing it on your own. That's something I had to do. It's interesting because when I first left grad school, I was like, I don't think I want to take a 9-to-5 job. I don't think I want to go into a traditional path, but nobody in my family had started their own business. I didn't know that I could do it. It was a little scary. Like, I just didn't know. But had I seen entrepreneurs in my life, I probably would have done that. I freelanced for a while because I just didn't want to get stuck in a contract. Now I understand why. I was always supposed to be my own boss. But some of you may have that same spirit. Get some educate yourself on how other people have started a business. You don't need an education to start a business. You just need research and understanding of how to do it. Get that sort of underway, and some amazing things could happen for you, okay? Everybody is capable of being their own boss if they want to be. You need to have the accountability. As long as you're accountable and you work hard, you can be your own boss. Okay, let's move on to love and relationships and see what your angelic guides want to come through and say. All right, let's see. Okay, so as we're moving on to relationships, it's about building. And let's see if I still, well, the card is hidden under here. But, the Three of Pentacles was very much the architect energy. So with this, it's saying, what is it, in the relationship, do you feel like the two of you are building something together in common? Because if not, then there is this sort of opportunity to rebuild. To take things down. And I think this card was in the reverse state. I'm looking here at my replay to make sure. I always like to make sure that I'm reading the proper alignment. Yeah, it was reversed. So it's saying this is a chance for your current relationships. If something isn't working, you're either going to do the work or you're going to move on. And it is what you put into it. You can only put in your part of the equation. The other person is going to have to do the same. So that's step one. The other thing here is we see spiritual relationships also coming through. So if you decide to get more involved in faith or spiritual or even just mind, body, spirit things like yoga, you might actually meet new people here with a common sort of spiritual center or grounding. All right, now let's look at just relationships across three different threads. Current relationships, those of you that are seeking to call one in, or those that are happily single. All right, if you're in a current relationship, it's interesting. There are some limits. It feels like you or your partner may be breaking through something from childhood, because we have the childhood card here with the Six of Cups. Then we have the angel that's getting out of this birdcage. So for one or both of you, maybe you didn't have the support that you wanted as a kid. Maybe you just had a child too. Whether it's inner child or physical child, this is a chance to make sure now that child can grow the way that it needs to. So inner child or children in your life, you're saying, let's make it work this time. Let's make sure that cycles aren't repeated. Let's break the glass ceiling. Let's get this sort of bird out of the cage and allow it to fly freely. I love that. That's good. But there's going to be this dichotomy between limiting thoughts from the past and then the present realization that that's an old pattern. It may be something that benefits, like you benefit from therapy to help work through the reprogramming and deprogramming. There's a little bit of that going on. A lot going on with work. So congrats to those of you that are graduating or have just sort of gotten better with your money or have just started a new job or whatever. This is exciting. And maybe you feel like you just had a breakthrough. So that can create some stress. Make sure that you're managing that stress accordingly. So there could be some positive movements in the relationship. It could be fresh too. Maybe you just got married. Communication is lacking a little bit or could be lacking as you go through some of these life changes. So remember that the two of you are in it together. You're the besties that we have here in the Six of Cups. Don't target each other when you're having stress. Go to the sources of the stress. Together, you're trying to help each other. So if you end up kind of getting on each other's nerves, get the time and space that you need. Take some time away from all the normal stuff and find your togetherness again. If you say you're going to do something, do something. It's pretty simple. And if your partner does, same thing. And if they're lacking that, figure out what's going on. Open communication is key. It does feel like one of you is very much an organizer and a planner, and one of you is a doer. And one of you may like to go off script a little bit, and that could drive the other person crazy. So if that happens, make sure that there's communication and consideration. By and large, it does feel like it's manageable as long as the communication improves and expands a little bit more than what I'm seeing here. So, and maybe it's time for a trip or vacation, something of that nature as well. Okay. But I definitely could see an addition to the family for some of you. Either you just got married or there's a birth, because Ace of Pentacles and the Six of Cups is usually a baby or a new pet. All of them can bring stress into your life in a different way. If you are single and looking, whomever you might be calling in may not meet your expectations. An interesting aside. So sometimes I can see people coming, friends, future bosses, new opportunities. Now, if I don't do something to kind of help continue to create that, then that vision it doesn't always manifest, because sometimes if I decide, no, I want to take longer on this, then that person goes away and then someone new comes in. So what I'm saying here for you is open your mind and realize that you don't want to limit yourself. You want to keep the door and the window open. So yes, if one person doesn't show up, maybe the universe has decided you've done some work and it's time for an upgrade. So allow yourself to receive more than you thought you could. And just because one vision doesn't manifest doesn't mean that the next one won't, okay? Because the future is constantly in motion and in flux. So that person exited out as you started to do room on your work on yourself. Now make room for someone better to come in. Always make room for something better. And that's one thing that I'm seeing here for those of you that are trying to bring new love in. I think it's time to heal yourself and to work on, again, finishing what you've started. I think the way that many of you could meet someone is an environmental sort of thing. So getting involved in community things at work or at school, like when you're not looking. Working out, it could be at the gym, it could be at some sort of a class, something in your periphery. I get a little bit of an experience or age gap between you and the other person. Could be up to 10 years for some of you. Could also just be this past life energy of someone who always kind of like was wiser or had the upper hand, but remember that no longer is the case. You're on equal terms. You might even be the same age. That person still tries to be the boss. You don't have to let them anymore. So really own your power and leadership so that as you call in this new person, you're not going to argue about who's the boss. You also might be calling in someone that has a child. The Page of Wands is attached to the Emperor. Okay, if you're single and happy, good time to be single and happy. Could be a move or a new job on the horizon. I see a lot of positive growth in personal relationships, friendships in particular. And again, there's healing and growth going on this month. So as you exit this retrograde, I think it's a good time to sort of like be single. Okay. Let's take a look at the Destiny card. This is your trajectory. Every month it changes based on where you are at. Every week it changes, and that's why we continue to look at it. We have a bat upside down. So the bat spirit came through. This is basically Hanged Man reverse when the card is flipped. So a rebirth is assured. I was just last night before I went to bed doing some of the titles, and I'm like, there's a common thread. I keep getting like reset or new start or bold new beginning. There's a lot of that coming through because we are exiting a retrograde next month. So be patient with yourself. The change, the birth, the metamorphosis, it's already underway. Let everything unfold. Bats can fly. This is another form of an angelic message. Most of these cards had wings and birds in them. This is no exception, even if it's not a bird. So one of the things here is there's a time and a rhyme and a season and a reason for everything. Finish what you've started, get everything out of the experience, then move on. That would be my advice. And let's go ahead now and take this out a couple of additional levels. So I'm going to just kind of go in the flow for this. Just kind of taking a look at time. I think we have enough time for this. So I want to just look at a few questions that are coming through as I look at these cards here to help you out. So I'm going to ask Spirit, what's your greatest block? And so angels, what's the greatest block and how to get around it? Queen of Swords. Self-deprecating words, self-deprecating thoughts. Try not to do that. She's on an air balloon. We like that she's using that sort of telescope to look at the future, but imagine if she used a sword and poked through that balloon, it wouldn't be good. So elevate yourself with speech and thoughts. That's the message from your angelic guides, is basically saying, don't think harshly of yourself. Don't speak harshly of others. Never say self-deprecating things if you can avoid doing that. All right. I'd like to ask the angels and ascended masters, what's the Ten of Swords about for you? How can you move beyond this? So in other words, where can you work to heal yourself in this time period? Ten of Cups. Okay, so you are allowed to lean on others. You are allowed to connect with others. This is a time where you should really be focusing on building community, building friendship. Through the friendship, 10 of Cups isn't always the partnership. I love, though, that we have a mermaid and a merman here. But basically, go to your element. And that's what I would say, because you're going to find your unique person wherever you, and you're going to find your healing if you kind of go with a group of people that are in the same sort of generic energy. So this is a time to really kind of try some new things out and meet some new people and lean on those groups for growth and new engagement. So it's coming out of your hermit shell just a little bit, okay? What I do like about the mer people is they can exist on land and water. Like they can they're half in, half out. So this is it's a chance for you to dip your feet in, or your fins, in something new and give it a shot. That's going to help you with the healing. As something closes, if you can find camaraderie. I mean, we got 2 cards that show partnership if we kind of go into the environment. So this is a chance for you to meet new people. Friendship, perhaps. Maybe it starts with friendship, and really focus on that energy, okay? All right. Now let's see if there's anything else here that I want to look at. If you need to change direction, is there some advice on how long it might take? Because there's a couple cards of patience or impatience. What should you do? Slow it down. Be present. So the 9 of Pentacles had it. You've got 2 snails coming through today. It's pretty loud and clear, right? She's got the snail in her cornucopia there, and now we have the snail here, and she's even wearing a shell from the snail. So it's saying slow and steady wins the race. The Chariot is saying sometimes if you go too fast, you just go off the rails or off the road. So take your time. It'll happen in the right amount of time, but there are certain things that you're going to have to just allow to finish, finish what you've started, and don't rush. Don't take shortcuts. You can try to get something done in a little bit less time, but never cut quality or anything of that nature. Okay. Now let's just do one big idea and we'll close with that. This was a really cool reading. I'm so glad you guys, past few weeks, you've been just selecting awesome. And I've been trying to get different topics up there, but this was a great one. So what's all of this about? What can you focus on? What's the biggest opportunity in the week ahead? Seven of Pentacles. Okay. So what I like about this is that she's cleaning things up. We can see the rake there, but there's also this abundance and this harvest that's coming through as well. So Seven of Pentacles for me represents a few things: growth and recovery, but an understanding that there's still some temptations or some inclinations to sometimes overstretch. The sevens hang out sometimes. The Seven of Swords and the Seven of Pentacles are like cousins or sisters. And so the Seven of Pentacles is trying to be stronger than the Seven of Swords, though, and it can say no. So with the Seven of Pentacles, you learned balance in the 6, and you're one away from this like big rebounding growth in the 8 of Pentacles. So just continue to be realistic, to be strong, and to have limits, and don't rush. All the snails come through on this as well. Take your time. Slow and steady wins the race. But we do see growth and recovery, and we do see you heading in the right direction. So be realistic, be strong, be communicative. Good things will come. All right, let's get ready for the meditation. And for the next portion, there are 2 things. I'm going to have a final card in just a moment where we can take a look at basically one question that you have for me. But the first thing I want to do is help you meditate. Today, let's focus on, since we're on the heels of Earth Day, why don't we just kind of put ourselves in the forest with all this lush green energy? So imagine, if you will, you can imagine that maybe you're in New Zealand or Ireland or somewhere where there's like lush green energy. It's been a week of rain. The sun is finally out. You can hear the birds chirping, and you find this soft, mossy patch where you can just sort of lay back, and it's super supportive. So allow yourself to just relax and look up at the light as it filters through the trees above. And there's this beautiful green energy, color of the heart, everywhere that you look. Shamrocks and vines and beautiful leaves. And then there's some flowers starting to come through as well. Allow yourself to be supported in this energy of love. In this moment, I'd like you to love and accept and celebrate all that you've been through, all that you are, and all that you can become. As I play the singing bowl, allow for that love to multiply and allow for that to also create worth and abundance in your life. Breathe as I play the singing bowl, relax, and then we'll look at your final question. Breaths, allowing your mind, body, and spirit to realign, feeling supported by the earth beneath you, feeling supported by your thoughts, which are now affirmative, are light and bright as the sun shining above. Focus now on one question, one thought, one thing that you need a little bit of clarity on. And let's take a look and see what the universe has to say. If your eyes are not already open, please open them. And again, focus on the question. Don't type it out. Don't worry about articulating it. Just hold it in your mind. Well, can't ask for much of a better card for the end. We got the Six of Wands. It is in the reverse state, but it's super positive. First of all, it's one of my personal totems for success and happiness, the hummingbird. Let me just take a drink and I'll talk about it. One of the cool things about a hummingbird, because I've chosen it before as a totem, it can fly in every direction pretty much, up, down, backwards, forwards. So this can easily do a course adjustment. So if you need to do a course adjustment, again, like I said, give yourself time, but you can successfully navigate change. This particular hummingbird is being baited a bit by that flower being held here. So remember that your alignment to success comes from within, not from someone else. So just realign. I think that's why this was upside down. This was trying to please or chase someone else's version of success. Chase your own version of it. Embrace it. You don't have to chase it. Embrace it and it will come to you. Okay? But I definitely see this next week being the beginning, because let's not forget it got hidden by this silly Eight of Swords cards. But we have the Ace of Pentacles right there at the center. Okay? So we see growth, we see movement, we see abundance. And I'm so excited to be able to kind of be here with you today to help you get on that path of movement. What a beautiful reading, everybody. What a great way to kind of like cap off the weekend and also kind of embrace this retrograde. I've definitely felt the energy this week as we were moving through all the cosmological events, but it's getting better now, and today's feeling really good. All right, I'd like to say thank you to everybody, whether it's your first time here or you've been a long-time viewer. I see as I'm looking at the display a lot of familiar faces, a lot of members as well. So to my subscribers and members, thank you. You're allowing me to do new things like a podcast, which is under development and will be released later this year. Subscribe to my newsletter if you haven't already. You can find a form on my website if you'd like to. Actually, before I say thanks, do me a favor, hit like, subscribe, and join if you'd like to. And again, that helps support future opportunities for me to do new things. My handle on all social media is Nicholas Ashbaugh. If anybody tries to send you a message, it's not me. If they offer you a product or service, it's not me. Just look for the verified check marks, and you can again go to my website if you have any questions. but thank you to everybody who has supported me there. Special thanks to those who have given back through super stickers, super chat, and things of that nature. I'm going to actually say thanks right now to all that have done that. So we'll start first with any of the newest members. I know that we had someone gift the memberships. I'll go back and see if I can figure. Stephanie, thank you for, well, you're an existing channel member. Someone else gifted them. Dakota, you can call out who that was, but thanks to the people that gifted it. I can't go back all the way. I'm just going to welcome the newest members here. All right, so the newest members, Sarah Lynn, Deborah, Rosemary, Darcy, and Laura, Little Miss Laura, Diane. I think these are everybody that joined today or were gifted a membership or rejoined. Thank you so much for, again, especially for all of you because you're helping me pay for the podcast production. So thank you very, very much. That helps quite a bit. Super stickers as well and super chat. Let's take a look at who gave back today and then we'll wrap up. All right, so today we had quite a few. Thank you in advance to everybody. I'm going to say first names only and just kind of say thanks here. So Tina, Lori, Robin, Yoga Rising, Missy, Georgie, Pearl, Carmen, Kathy, Mauricia, Jeannie, again, thank you. Let's see, Lulia, I think it is, thank you. Allison, Cynthia, Clomi, I can't say it. CHLMOMIKELL, thank you. Laura, Darren, Suzanne, Renita, Diana, Cheryl, Palace Athene, Wendy, again, I want to say it's Lulia, maybe that's Lulia, and Luis. Thank you so much. Much appreciation and light. Sorry for the names that were a little harder to pronounce. Sometimes they're also kind of like all pushed together here as I'm reading it. So if I mispronounce anybody's name, no hard feelings. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for being a part of this. And I hope that you enjoyed today. Super magical. I knew it was going to be a gentle reading too, because whenever the angelic energy is present, it's always fun to read for you. All right. Thanks everybody. Have an amazing week ahead. Remember that now is the time to really kind of initiate and celebrate things. Living in the now is important. And it looks like you're on the precipice of some exciting change. All right. Let's see if I can bring Apollo up. He's kind of awake here. You ready, buddy? We'll go for a walk after this. Yes. Yes, we'll say goodbye to everybody. All right. From Apollo and I to all of you, have a fantastic weekend and thank you so much. All right, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.